Hello friends, this is someone once again from Sony Tech, and I'm so excited to be back recording videos, particularly this series, which is the expo-network series. But then in this one, I'll be walking you through how the expo-network API works. So essentially, the expo-network API allows you to get a device's network information, such as which network it's connected to, being a Wi-Fi, cellular network, to get the IP address, the MAC address, and all of that cool stuff. So to get started, you import the expo-network API like so. So let me just grab this, we'll use it, and then in order for this to work, you'd have to go ahead and npx install expo-networks. So in my package.json, you see I have expo-networks installed here, and then I have just this tools provider wrapped around my entry points, where my entry point just renders this example component from here, which is what we see here. It's just a simple fetch of a post from JSON placeholder. Right, I'm going to go ahead and then paste this code here, and then but before we do that, let me save and let's just try and make a fetch. So we're going to use expo-network to detect if the device is connected to the Wi-Fi, to check the network connectivity strength or signal before we make a fetch, just for good user experience. Okay, so let's go ahead and like fetch this post. All right, so our data has been fetched. So let's go ahead and import. Okay, and then I'm going to add another state here. I'm going to call it this. So for the online and its online check, you see down here in my code, I commented out this style, this combined styling here, and just rendered this so you can see the button. So I'll comment it out and explain why I did that. So now let's go ahead and add the function. So check network status async. Essentially what this piece of code or this function is doing here is that this variable, which is the network state, awaits this network. I call this method, which is a gets network state async from a method from the network API from Expo. So you see here when I hover, I get this function, so it gets IP address async, gets its airplane mode async, and all of that stuff. And then I set whatever states return by this API to our setter function here, and then change it to false. Right, so I can then go here and then add use effects, and then come up here and call this use effects, and then call this function. Right, so great. So to check if this is working fine, let's come here and we can render this. So I'm checking if it's online. It should render online, else it should render offline. So it shows that we are online, of course, because we have some internet connected. Right, so let's try another method. So we can do the IP address check. So check IP address async. Let me make this bigger, and then we can come back to our use effects here and then call this function. And then you see here I get my IP address printed. So when I go back and I hover over this, you see you have a bunch of methods. I can check whatever network type, and if you visit the documentation, the amount of things you can find here is connected, is internet featureable, and all of that stuff. So now let's go back to our fetch post function. So one of the best practices to also do this is to prevent or for a good user experience, you can check the network connectivity thing before you make a fetch, and then show a very nice message to the user. That is for a good user experience, of course. Okay, so here what we can set is loading to true. We can also set is online to false. Okay, so yeah, so let's try this one more time. Let's fetch stuff. Okay, so I have a bit of a network problem. So you see we have set is offline to false. So essentially this is how expo-networks work. You see some apps like those in Ghana, like the MTN Momo apps and some other apps, it tells you if you are offline, that some features of the app might not work because of bad internet and all of that stuff. So it's good to use expo-networks. You get information about the device and all of that stuff, just for good user experience. So thanks much for watching this one. Don't forget to subscribe, please like this video, please share, and see you in the next one.